when a violent tornado struck Nashville, Tennessee without warning on May 18, 1995. It set in motion a series of incredible events that would change the lives of two complete strangers.
Be happy to. I'll get back with you. Okay.
It was just after noon on a Thursday. Jan Nevy was working her shift as office manager at Haverty's furniture store when she looked out to see the sky turning an eerie shade of green.
And I thought, wow, I have never seen anything like this before. I stood there for a moment, and the lights went out.
A scream brought Jan running to the lunchroom door. She opened it to calm down whoever was inside.
Lights just went out. We'll get some power.
But just then, the twister touched down. The heavy door slammed shut on Jan's hand, crushing it, trapping her in place, and exposing her to the full force of the tornado.
The entire building literally exploded around me.
Nearby, windows suddenly imploded.
Glass was going everywhere. They were huge pieces of glass. The air conditioning units were falling through. Tons of furniture was breaking and crashing, and I said, I'm not going to survive this.
The building was being ripped from its foundation, showering her with debris. But for Jan, there was no escape.
I tried to pull that door, and I pulled, and I pulled, and I was just stuck there. And I finally said, God, please help me.
And then, just as suddenly as this violent storm had appeared, it was gone.
The sky turned blue, the storm had passed over, and I was able to finally pull that door back out off of my hand. But there was not a lot left of my hand at that point.
Jan was bleeding profusely, and she knew that if she didn't get help, she could die. But the phones were dead. The store and the entire neighborhood around it had been reduced to rubble. And outside, there wasn't a car or person in sight who could take her to a hospital.
I could get no help, and no help could get to me. So I thought, I'll just go sit on the curb, and I'm going to bleed to death right here. This is the day that I'm going to die.
Jan was completely alone. Only a miracle could save her now. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a pickup truck appeared. The driver, Robert Morgan, had absolutely no intention of being in Nashville that day. But something mysterious had forced him to change course, guiding him on a path that led directly to the furniture store.
I looked around and all I seen was, down poles, power lines over all these cars, and I thought, man, you got to get out of here. And then all of a sudden, I looked around to my right, and there comes Jan up to the door.
Can you take me to the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
Robert was eager to help, but he wasn't from the Nashville area, and he had no idea where the nearest hospital was located.
Thank you.
Jan, still suffering from shock, was forced to become the navigator.
And Jan was saying, please hurry. And I said, for some reason, I just said, no, it's time to stop.
As he slammed on the brakes, a damaged live power line fell directly in front of them. A moment later, and they could have been electrocuted. Amazingly, there was still enough room for Robert and Jan to slip under the wire. But Robert and Jan's day of terror wasn't over yet.
Oh, hurry, please. I'm bleeding so much.
Jan's loss of blood had reached a critical stage. Robert struggled to remove his belt for her to use as a tourniquet as he sped through the tornado wreckage.
Jan was bleeding real bad, and all I could think of was she's going to pass out on me, and then where will I be? Because I didn't know where I was going.
In desperation, Robert used his cell phone to get directions.
I've got a wounded woman.
But those directions led him straight back into the path of the tornado.
It was just tearing up everything in its path. I could still feel the wind shaking the truck. I mean, it just felt like it was going to flip over just any time.
Suddenly, a section of roof filled with nails flew into the path of the truck. Robert braced himself for a blowout. But miraculously, the tires weren't damaged.
The truck just seemed to be protected. Just like a big bowl or something was over the top of it, just moving along with us.
When they finally arrived at the hospital, Jan was rushed into surgery. Fearing the loss of her hand, she would encounter one last astonishing incident of good fortune.
One of the nurses patted me on the shoulder and she said, "You know, this is your lucky day."
How's she doing?
She said, "Normally we don't have an orthopedic surgeon in surgery on a Thursday."
Very nice.
The surgeon was able to save Jan's hand that afternoon. And today, she has almost completely recovered. Both she and Robert are still amazed by the mysterious forces that brought them together that day.
There's so many things happened that day that it's hard for me to comprehend. I mean, I know that we were surrounded by a force that was greater than any that I knew, and it just protected us through all this.
My life was spared due to a number of miracles that took place. There is no logical reason for my survival.
But there may be another explanation. Jan believes that Robert was sent to her as a guardian angel.
I would not be here today if it had not been for him.
If you ask people that know me and know me real good, they'll tell you I'm no angel. But I believe that mine and her guardian angels were both there.